Yeah, so if you go more on the bottom, should go from there. So we're just gonna.
Well, that's cool. They're generally about 1.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, some of them are a bit.
Is there an on button?
Yeah, two of them yesterday. One of them ended up being something.
Kia ora koutou, tēnā koutou katoa, kia kara kia tātou. Whakatakata hau ki te uru, whakatakata hau ki te tonga, kia mā kina kina ki uta, kia mā tara tara ki tai. Ihi aki ana ti atu kura, he tio, he huka, he hauhu, tihei, mauri ora. Kia ora anō, nau mai haere mai ki tēnei hui AI in the classroom, no academyEX. Tēnei te mihi atu ki a koutou, I tā koutou tainga mai, I tā koutou tautoko hoki I te kaupapa o tēnei hui. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Ko wai au, ko Gander toko ingoa, no ingarangi ahau, kei tūranga nui a kiwa toko kāinga. My name's Gander, and I'm a Postgrad Director here at academyEX. And I'm really excited today to speak to you about 3 tools that could be used in the classroom to support your learners or support you. Firstly, thanks for tuning in on this in the school holidays. I know many of you have got other things that you should probably be doing and relaxing, but it's a testament to your dedication to your profession and your role and your learners to come along and add on to this extra learning on something which is so critical and something that we really need to start paying attention to in order to support and amplify our practice. A bit more about me, like I mentioned, I'm based in Tūranganui, Kiwa, Te Tairāwhiti, Gisborne, and I've lived here for 20 years. I was a teacher at Gisborne Boys High School for 10 years, and now I've worked with academyEX or the Mind Lab for the last 10 years through a range of roles. Some of those things involve here on the screen. You can see Hurauro, which is our peer-reviewed journal. I'm the founder and the editor-in-chief of that, and that's a wonderful platform to share our practice-based research projects, which many of our teachers have been doing over the years. And if you're interested, you can go and have a look at some examples. Some of you may be thinking about studying at academyEX, and that's a wonderful resource just to understand the depth of the projects and the impact which they can create. You'll see that there's quite a few recently about AI, so you can have a look and understand a bit more about those. I also write on my platform Substack, and on there I share everything I've done about AI. I'm really transparent about the way I've been using the tools and how I think they could support learners in different ways. And of course, it seems like LinkedIn is the new Twitter or the new X or whatever it is. Anyway, the online platform. So if you want to connect, that's a good way to do that through that channel there. And of course, my email address is at the top if you've got any questions. I can't forget my wonderful family, as you can see in that picture there. And that's us scattered all up and down the East Coast, spending as much time as we can outside and in the nature, because we live in such a wonderful place. But over today's main content, I understand that there is a bit of info-whelm about AI, how it's used. It just seems to be an ongoing, constant barrage of tools and links and articles and people trying to tell you what to do. And I thought a good way to look at this is perhaps just zooming out a little bit and look at it from a broader perspective about how these tools could be applied in different ways. So I've come up with this diagram, and what I want people to sort of think about when they're trying to understand these different tools and how they can be used is the different levels that they could be applied. So for example, on the broader, most sort of universal level, we can have this universal support provided or augmented by AI tools. In that, AI tools can support everybody in the classroom. And this can enable sort of a more inclusive approach and a broader range of participation. We also know that AI tools can be very supportive in groups and with targeted support. So thinking about how a tool or an AI approach or an AI augmented approach might work with a specific group of learners, perhaps English as a second or other language learners, you could bring in a tool. We also know that AI tools can be used on the individual level. So another way to conceptualize our use of these tools is through a more tailored and individual support. And that might be just one tool which works with one student, and it's been directly designed to work with that learner, enabling them to engage with the content or create something which couldn't have been created before without the tool. So I think just zooming out and thinking about this from either a universal, a targeted, or a tailored perspective is a really nice way to frame what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to share a range of approaches and go into a bit more depth, talk about one tool at the universal level, one tool at a targeted level, and another tool at a tailored level. And hopefully you can come away from this today and have at least a few fun things to play around with over the holidays, and perhaps one or two things to bring into your practice next term. One extra bonus tool that I'll share with you now, and I just found out about this morning from my friend and colleague, B. Shaw, and this image that I've created on the slide, I haven't left it to the last minute, of course, but I made this image today, and I used a tool called Napkin AI, and all you do is type in a word-based prompt like all of these other tools, and it gives you a range of diagrams. I've tried creating diagrams in ChatGPT before, and it's absolutely diabolical. Comes up with some sort of Microsoft Paint square drawing with Courier Sans text, and looks bad. So this looks really good, and that's called Napkin AI. So just a little bonus tool for you there. Now, I'm gonna break this down in a bit more detail and look at the three different levels that I've just explained that might help us understand the different levels of application of these tools. And as I mentioned, we've got the universal level, the more sort of group focused target level, the tailored or individual level. And as you can see, the circles get a bit smaller, and so does the font. So the one on the far right is all about a tailored approach. The examples that I'm going to share are all based at these different levels. So at the universal level, some of the things that I've seen being used in the classroom and some of the things that I've used in my own teaching have been around working with all students. I think using these tools to support an inclusive learning based on frameworks that we've got available already is a really powerful way to engage all learners. I'm going to share a universal design for learning planning tool. Many of you have heard of the CAST framework, which will be able to understand different ways of representing learning, different ways of capturing understanding, and expanding on those different areas through an AI tool is a really powerful approach, and I'll share how I've done that. We also know that we can use differentiation tools. I'm not going to necessarily talk about these today. However, there's quite a few out there that can really adapt content to support broader engagement with lesson ideas and participation. And then another tool which can be used at the universal level, and this is something that I use in my practice. I'm teaching a course at the moment, 8205 research methods, and I've created a AI-powered resource bank using a tool called Notebook LM, and through that the students can interact with all of the content, and from there create their own interactions, whether it might be a short form quiz or a summary, or dig a bit deeper into each individual resource. So making things like that available can support at a more universal level. I'll come on to that UDL example on the next slide, but if we're moving across now into this targeted group, when we're looking at working with particular sets of students, There are quite a few collaborative platforms that are available that can support collaboration and facilitate group work. Many of these platforms have been available already. However, they've just had a bit of AI sort of magic woven into them, and I'm going to talk about one in particular in a moment. Again, understanding that certain groups will interact with content in certain ways. There are lots of really good tools out there which support multimodal communication. So, for example, going from text to video or text to audio to enable a greater sort of digestion of the content, if you like. And then there's custom GPTs, which you can create, which will support any kind of process that you like and can also be backed up by specific documents or frameworks that you'd like to build into that. On a more tailored and individual level, you can look at the tools that can support task organization and prioritization, assistive communication, for example, speech to text, and then interactive avatars could be used just to support students in breaking down complex social situations. We had a wonderful example at our AI community of practice a few weeks ago from the University of Auckland, and they shared with us two AI avatars who were learning support mentors, which could break down the course content and the assessment. Out of these two mentors, one was quite bright and jolly and interactive and nice, like me. And there was another one who's a bit more grumpy and gruff, perhaps a bit like Dr. David Parsons, who's going to be talking next week. And funnily enough, everyone, including me, preferred the grumpier one. So I know Dave's talking next week, so perhaps he might have a good audience for his talk. So there are 3 levels. I shared, 9 ideas there really briefly, but I'm going to go into a bit more depth on each one of these. And the top level, on the universal level, I want us to dive into this idea of using a planning tool based on the UDL framework. Now, all of these slides are going to be available for people that have signed up for this quick live session today. And on these slides, there are a range of links, so you'll be able to follow up on this. Now, one of the things that I found really helpful, I've been running workshops with RTLBs and teachers throughout the country, is creating a predetermined GPT. Now, we've probably all heard of ChatGPT. Within ChatGPT, you can program, let's think of this as like a bot, which follows your instructions perfectly every single time. Well, I say perfectly. It tries to follow your instructions perfectly every single time, based on some predetermined prompts. So I've programmed a predetermined prompt, which has been fed with the CAST UDL frameworks and several other parameters based on New Zealand curriculum, as well as understanding the context of the teacher, how long they need to teach the lesson, how many children are in the class, how many learning support assistants available, the particular topic and the particular level. And once that information's been shared with the GPT tool that I've created, it gives you an idea of a lesson that can be supported by UDL content and concepts. So from there, what teachers have found have been really useful is that they can draw out different activities within that framework. So I think with all of these tools, there's a good 80-20 rule that we can stick to, and that being, they may provide between 20 to sort of 80% of the ideas, but we definitely need to spend a good sort of 20% of our time going over these and picking these out. So each time I've used this to come up with some support, for me, when I've been trying to plan a lesson, I may have taken just 2 or 3 of the ideas out of this this UDL planning framework tool that I've created, not the whole thing. And I really sort of want to recommend that that's an approach to take rather than letting the tool do all the thinking. The diagram that I've got on the left of this slide here is just sort of showing the importance of trying to fix the lesson and the instruction first before fixing the differentiation, rather than the student being the focus, as in, okay, well, I need to differentiate for you. Let's differentiate for everybody and plan a lesson which everybody can interact with and is inclusive. And as we know, differentiation is one of the most challenging things to do in the classroom. By using a tool like this, it can really support us coming up with ideas that may use different platforms or different approaches or different combinations of group work, or a different sort of mapping activity or something which may just engage a student, which is not, wouldn't have been engaged in the first place. So hopefully this, when you get the link for this, would be a useful tool for you to reflect on. One of the things that I'm seeing more and more often online is people trying to sell tools which have been made as GPTs to teachers. And I'm sort of trying to recommend that you don't do that. I'm trying to recommend that you experiment with your own GPTs if you can. And if you don't have access to one of those GPT accounts, message me and I'll make one for you for free. Just because I just do not want to see people having to pay for tools that they shouldn't be paying for. Just a little bit of know-how, a little bit of experimentation, and a little bit of sort of understanding of what happens behind the hood can really amplify what you're doing in your practice. And I don't think teachers should be paying for that. I think it should be something that should be available for free. So how to do that, just message me. Okay, so that's sort of on a universal level, using a UDL lesson planner used via a GPT. You can see the link to that and play with that on the slides. The second level is more of a sort of group tool. And recently, or just this week, actually, I gave a presentation about the impact and the power of our Masters of Contemporary Education projects. And I analysed over 300 of the project titles that people have done over the years. And the most common themes that came up within those projects were around project-based learning. And this is a real hot topic for many of our teachers that study on our programs. And many teachers get to the stage where they've got the idea where they'd like to do some kind of project-based learning approach, but there's no necessary tools specifically to support what this might look like until we found Mixapply. And Mixapply has been in existence since about 2017. And it's a beautiful story of a digital design teacher called Marianne Maelstrom and Jim Taylor from Theta NZ, he's an emerging technologies architect, met at a hackathon in Wellington, and they both had this idea of collaborating on a pitch. The team ended up winning, and they ended up creating this tool or this platform called Mixapply. So it's New Zealand based, it's developed in New Zealand, it's completely free. And Marianne's been using this in her school as a platform to support mini hackathons in our class. And these are almost like project-based learning iterations. The tool supports students in ideating a project, understanding the different ways or the different levels in which this project could be developed, the things that they need to do. There's interactive whiteboards on there, but perhaps the most useful feature that I've seen being used is the students generate a project, they get feedback on it, but then once they've finalized their idea for their feedback, they can take it to the next level, and it then asks a group of 4 or 5 AI experts based on the theme or the topic of the project that they're thinking of developing. So that gives them some really interesting and targeted feedback based on their idea. Now, this happens automatically through the programming, and it's been such a great relationship between Jim and Marianne, who are constantly developing the ideas of this tool called Mixapply. Really, it's an entire ecosystem that empowers the students and gives them agency to be able to create and learn and innovate and build on their ideas. And by combining those two areas, as in Theta and Jim's expertise in emerging technologies and Marianne's expertise in understanding what happens in a technology classroom, it's created this wonderful free tool for everybody to use. So yeah, I definitely encourage you to go and have a play with that and see how it might support some of the project-based learning that you may be doing next term as we move into term 4. So that's more of a group level. And then the third example I'm going to talk to you about is on an individual level. And this is something that I use myself, but I think it's also wonderful for students. My own children use this as well. And it's called Goblin Tools. Many of you may have heard of it. It's been around for a while, but it's just such a helpful tool to support breaking down tasks, reducing cognitive overload from just having too much to do. I'm at a stage at the moment where I've got so many different jobs on. I can just, or lines of work, I can just type them into Goblin Tools and it breaks it down. So on the screen, you'll see there's an example here that I've typed into the magic to do, and it was creating a presentation for a group of RTLBs, Resource Teachers for Learning Behaviour in New Zealand, about AI tools to support learning. And it's given me a step for each one, automatically generated. And within each one of those steps, I can click on it and it will give me more things that I can strive to complete. And it just breaks down a complex task. We know that many students struggle to start things because they don't know where to start. And this is often kind of the catalyst of distraction in the classroom. The student doesn't know what to do, but doesn't know what to, how to ask for help. So this is a really nice tool to use, I think, with individual students, to add it to their kit aid to support them in their learning in the school. The magic to-do list is a real key element of Goblin Tools, and it's kind of the premium or the main feature. However, there's some other parts of this as well. One of them's being a formalizer, which sort of can change the language into more classy or less classy based on what you're aiming for. There's one called the Judge, where you put some text in and it will kind of analyze the tone for you as well to see if that angry email that you're going to send your head of department because you've been allocated too many classes is angry or it's professional. The Professor is a really good one as well, where you can type in a concept and it will just explain it on different levels. One of the things that I really like about this tool is that you can change the level of spiciness. Now, in tech, there's different ways of saying explain it to me like I'm 5 or explain it at a university level. But I think the way that Goblin Tools have done it by just creating a slider mitigates any of that kind of students feeling fuckamara about it being explained to me like a 5-year-old. I use that sometimes, but I think some students may feel like, I don't want to get it explained to me like a 5-year-old. I'm 14. So, having that slider of the different, you can see it, those chilies on the screen, I think is a really good way to approach it. Estimator is a good one just for understanding how long something's going to take. The compiler can often be used with the magic to do, and the compiler is a brain dump where you put your list of tasks and it will just tell you the best way to approach this. And then finally, the last one is called the Chef, and that's about what you're having for lunch. So if you've got a load of ingredients in your study day and you just don't know what to do with it, you can look in your fridge, write them in, and it will tell you what to eat. So just removes all of that complicated stuff that you have to think about every day. So there's 3 tools there, ranging from the UDL GPT that I've created that you can have a play around with, Mixapply for the project-based learning tool, and then Goblin Tools, which can be used on more of an individual level. Are you there, Lisa, online on the internet? Oh, Lisa, well, I can see your mouth is moving, but there's no sound coming out of your microphone. No, that's not working for me. Now, this is like the radio, so I'm going to keep on making a noise just so to give you a chance to get the sound going. Try and... Oh, yeah, we've got you. There we go. Nice.
Kia pai for that, Tim. That was amazing. Tim teaches on our programs, and we have a number of programs at the Mind Lab by academyEX. We do a postgrad certificate in digital and collaborative learning. It's 21st century skills, but just as much changing the pedagogy of teaching to student-led collaboration, resilience, failure. Really, really powerful stuff. And that is 32 weeks live online, 90 minutes a week. And that program is the first third of our Master of Contemporary Education, which Tim spoke about the projects. The main focus of the projects of the Masters is a change project of your choice. So it could be a school focus, your passion, it's up to you. We'll walk alongside you to get that thing done. The applications for 2025 are open and our scholarships have just been announced. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. We're here to help. Kia ora.
Good, Lisa. Thanks so much for that. Now, I don't know if we're going to be able to answer any questions. I'm not quite sure. This is the first time we've done a live event like this, and I'm not sure if anyone could put any questions in our chat for the chat. I'm not sure if even any questions have come through. So maybe I'll just see if anyone can, oops, I'm showing the wrong thing there. See if anyone can perhaps help me out with that from our team. And if not, I'll just encourage you to keep playing around with some of those tools, understand how they might be able to support you in your practice in whatever you might be doing in your school, whether it's working with a whole class, like I mentioned, at that universal level, working with individual groups, where you might be able to support English as second or other languages, or working with individuals where you know that a learner might be able to benefit from perhaps using a tool. So we'll leave you with that. Keep exploring, keep trying the tools out, and just have fun and enjoy it. We'll close with our karakia, and we'll let you enjoy the rest of your day and your holidays. Hope you have a great time to relax with your whānau and spend some time with the people you love. Kia
I'm
ora
sorry.
tātou. Oh, is that
There
someone
is
there?
one question for
There's
you.
one question. Okay, yeah.
What is the first AI tool you ever used?
Well, yeah, it was the first AI tool that I ever used was OpenAI Playground, and this was before ChatGPT was released, and it was part of the content on one of our courses actually. And I always used to show this to our students just after they'd submitted an assessment, and I ended up showing them live how they could have written their assessment using this tool, OpenAI Playground, and it was kind of like the text generator that you see now on ChatGPT. Which was incredibly infuriating for many of the students who spent so much time over their essays and picked over every single word, to see that this tool could actually do a reasonable job of doing it. Of course, then there's massive limits on context windows and the amount of text that you could generate. But it was just the beginning of people being able to see, well, you know, this is going to be quite a massive tool that's going to revolutionize how we may think of knowledge creation. So yeah, that was a really interesting point. That was just really the catalyst of starting our community of practice. We just banded together and said, we need to understand more about this. So yeah, it was the OpenAI tool, which was good. Of course, you know, there's the differentiation between sort of generative AI and AI itself. You know, we've all been using AI for years through Google Maps, through Netflix, through all these different things that can sort of determine the algorithms and the way that we make our choices. But yeah, that was the first generative AI tool that I used. But yeah, thanks for the question. I'd love to see who's there on the other side, but as we know, this is a sort of one-way dissemination tool, so it's great to get a little bit of collaboration and feedback back. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed today, and we look forward to catching up with you soon. I will close with our karakia. Ka whakairia te tapu, kia wātia ai te ara, kia turuku whakataha ai, kia turuku whakataha ai, haumie huie tai ki e. Kia pai te rā.